Hello and welcome to another episode of the Bleeding Metal podcast. We are talking to you a little bit from the past. We're recording this on December 16th. And I think this episode will be out somewhere in February 2025. So if there are events or anything that sounds weird to you, that might be because we didn't know about what will happen until then. My name is Pia, my pronouns are she, her, and I'm here with my co-host.
Kiki, hello everyone. My pronouns are also she, her.
And we have a guest that you might know from an episode that is already some years ago. But we followed what you were doing 4 years ago, Kiki just said. And yeah, very welcome to this podcast again. Please introduce yourself.
Hey, my name is Laura. I sing in the metal band, the Tex Avery Syndrome. I also have a solo project going on, and I'm very excited to be back.
Yay! We are very, very happy that you're in this podcast again. And when we were talking before we started recording, you just said that you thought about stuff that you said in our previous episode with you, and that you have, maybe different thoughts about that now. Maybe we should start with that.
Oh my gosh, I've been so curious about it. Yes, please.
Yes.
So literally the past 2 years, I've been thinking a lot about the episode we've recorded, because we've been talking about how it is as a woman in the metal scene or in the music scene especially. I think we also talked about the sexual abuse that I suffered as a kid, which has nothing to do with the music industry whatsoever. But you asked me what my experience in the music scene is, and I said something like that I am very lucky that I haven't really experienced abuse in a way, but I know a lot of women who did, and that I want to, talk more about it to raise awareness. And in the past years, I've been reading a lot of books and stuff. And I was like, hold on, that's not true what I said. I experienced that on a daily level, actually. Because to me, in my head, I think we all grow up in a system and we do not realize that certain things that are happening to us are not okay. Mm-hmm. So what I thought is like physical abuse. So when I thought about abuse, I thought about physical abuse. But even abuse of power, catcalling, all these things are abuse too. So that happens to me actually on a daily level. I was like, holy shit. I really, what I said. I mean, at this time, it was what I felt, but I feel different now. So about a lot of things that happened to me, talk to other women in the scene. So yeah, I think the problem is much bigger than what I thought it is.
And in the meantime, it's been 4 years that you've been in this podcast, but we talked on my other podcast, Pommesgabe, and we also had this topic, not so big like we talk in this podcast, but you had your drummer with you, and we also asked him if people comment on his style and everything, and he was like, no, that never happens to me.
Yeah.
But it happens to you, of course.
Yeah.
And I also want to link to what you said about this physical abuse. Of course, it's not that we got beaten or that on an everyday basis life is kind of okay. But also when you're in a crowd, it happened to every woman that someone touches your back to get you out of his way.
Or your hips or
Yes. And that he wouldn't do that to a man. And that's not abuse, but it's also a demonstration of power, even though the man might not realize that, because also to him it's so normal because it happens all the time. You see other men do it, you see it in movies. It's just everywhere.
That's normalized. It's everywhere. I remember I had a conversation like a few weeks ago at a show talking about the whole political situation, and I was like, look, I would like to see. I mean, of course, the best thing would be there's like all sorts of gender or non-binary people ruling. female, male, non-binary, so there would be a balance. But also I'd be interested in how things would change if more women would be in those positions. And that person said, hey, look, I think you guys would fight each other all the time. I was like, why do you think that? And even if it's because we are raised that way, it's not like it's inside of us, that we're not born with it, that we're like fighting other women. That's how we are raised. Like every movie, books, there's always like this one woman that is portrayed as a bitch, talking bad shit about other people. That's how we are raised. So we are raised into that system and we don't know any better. And it's been the same with me. I grew up in a world where it's normal to be catcalled. It's normal to be gaslighted. It's normal to, but guys are trying to keep you small. So to me, I didn't see it as a problem. To me, it was like the normal word until it came to me, it appeared to me like, holy shit. Yeah. I'm actually like, it happens on a daily basis and it's not okay. And right. since I realized that, I look around, I'm like, every damn fucking day, something like that happens to me. And it's not getting any better with social media. I just turned my comment section on my stories off because every time I post something about empowerment and female empowerment and how we need to look more into these things, there is a guy complaining about it. Like, not all men, or making fun of it. Like, why are you so bothered? Yeah. Why? So I was like, I just turn it off because I can't take it anymore. Yeah.
That's good that you protect yourself. Yes. I have two important things to say about that because it's been a prevalent topic recently. We just recorded last week on an episode that by now you will have heard already if you listen to the podcast on the regular. The interview with Dark about female-fronted bands also touches on the subject. But before I go into that a little more, there are the World Health Organization and the United Nations have the categorization of violence against women in 4 different categories. And think about first is physical violence and sexual violence, but there's also psychological violence and even economic or political violence.
And even emotional violence, right?
Yeah, that is, I think that one is in the psychological violence. But a lot of these things, we don't see them. So because we don't necessarily see a bruise, we don't immediately think abuse or violence. And that is just not the case. It's just about, control and oppression and keeping the person in a submissive situation and obligating them to that. So it's really difficult and sometimes it's really difficult to see, as you were saying, because it's so normalized. Yeah, we've lived with that for so long. And we have even developed protection mechanisms and measures of how to cope with those situations and not put ourselves in more danger. And that is just extra work for us. That is also not fair. And it's part of this oppression, part of the patriarchy, part of how we live in the patriarchy. But even among men, what you were just saying as well, when someone says, well, not all men, and I don't do that and my friends don't do it. And it's like, yeah, okay, it's okay that you think that because we all want to think of ourselves as good people and as good humans. But if you look a little more in detail, you might have been at a party where things happened in another room and you didn't notice because you thought, that's normal.
What they mean is they didn't do it on purpose, maybe.
Yeah. Or maybe they didn't think it was that bad.
Yeah.
That kind of thing, because it was a joke, because it was, because it was just teasing, because it was not the kind of extreme violent abuse that we would reject immediately. But it's way more pervasive than that.
Yeah, like Laura just said with why are you so bothered?
So I just checking the facts because I read that in Germany, 2 out of 3 women experience sexual harassment. So if it's 2 out of 3 women, everybody, like every man has to know another man that does these things. Otherwise, it's not possible. So what we need is other men to help us to step up, because we live in a patriarchy. It only works when other men are finally, you know, being loud with us. But it barely happens, and it's really frustrating.
And it kind of sucks that we have to rely on that, on like feminist men who actually have the interest to further equality and equal human rights. We kind of have to rely on them to speak for that, to speak for the cause, because otherwise people don't listen to us, and that sucks. But in terms of making the scene more safe, or a safer space for everyone, we were just talking, as I was saying, we were just talking to Dark about it. And it's funny because the day after our interview, they played a concert. And during the interview, we were talking about how in the very beginning of our magazine, we went a lot to Female Voices Fest, female metal event, and realized that the female fronted thing was not about the genre. It was more about the community supporting women in metal in general. And as great as that sounds, some of that audience was a little creepy. And we were talking about that. And then the next day they go play this concert and they realize that there's this one older white guy in the audience that is filming the singer the whole time. And before that, he was singing the female bassist of another band the whole time. And he was only filming the women on stage. And then one of the guys in the band confronted him, and he was apparently super confused and didn't really know how to react. So they actually made him delete all the pictures and videos that he had taken from the women, and realized that on his phone were also just random female butts and just female audience members and stuff like that.
From the audience?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, just like from the audience.
Yeah.
Just, I don't know, anonymous butts and body parts, kind of. And it's like, okay, body parts sounds a little more horror. But yeah, it was so weird and so creepy. And before that, we were saying, okay, how do you make it safer? How do you feel safe? If you know there's that kind of people, how do you, as an artist as well, get off the stage, go to the merch booth, and want to be there to connect with the fans? But how do you avoid the weird hand on the back for the picture and stuff like that can get really disgusting? Have you had any experience? Do you have any strategies in place, Laura?
I mean, how can we avoid these things? I mean, something has to change in the mind of the people. I think there has to be harder judgments for people who do these things. What can you do? Call the police? What will happen? Probably nothing. What I do, I started calling people out. But then I realized that a lot of people call me like crazy or hysterical. Why are you making such a big fuss about it? Like, I think what we should do is, and what some bands are doing, but I believe that the venue should be doing this, to place posters somewhere. Look, these are the rules, and if you play by our rules, you're welcome. If not, we're going to kick you out. Some bands are doing this, which I think is really cool. They're like, hey, we play at your venue, but please do this. And we want to meet your security guys. So we want to meet these people to check if, you know, they are okay, which I think is amazing. But how many bands are doing this actually? We have like a little text in our rider, what is important to us.
Have there been venues that didn't want you to play there then after they saw
No.
that? Okay.
No, they haven't. But sometimes the venues themselves are the problem.
Right.
As we have talked before, I'm sorry that I don't really have like the perfect solution to it, because I think it's a long way to go. Things have to change, you know, in the minds of the people. We need more people to step up for us, and consequences have to be bigger and stronger. I've attended a lot of festivals in my life. either way with my band, playing there or being with bands that are friends of mine or just as a regular guest. When I am backstage, usually I feel safe because I can hide in my room and I don't stroll around that much as I would do as a guest. But when I'm there as a guest, I have to pass security several times. Sometimes I have to get my guest pass or get my ticket checked. And in the past years, I have had so much trouble with the securities. It started there. So that's what I'm saying with sometimes the venue is the problem, not even the people. So they've been catcalling me. They've been touching me in a way they shouldn't touch me. Usually it should be women checking your stuff, but when I've been at Summer Breeze this year, there have only been male securities checking my bags. So this guy was saying something very nasty to me. At Southside Festival, it's been securities catcalling me. It's been a radio booth that was working there where an employee was literally touching my tit. So he was walking around having stickers and flyers, and he was supposed to give it to the people. Well, what he was doing, I was working there with a friend. We've been taking pictures for a mobile company. So we've been working, and he was behind me. We didn't see it. He was coming from the back, having that sticker in his hand and putting it on my tit. I was like, what the I was like going super mad. He was just walking away. Stuff like that. So check if the fucking people you're working with.
Yeah.
If you set up a festival, get all the people together, say, look, these are our rules. You play with these rules or you fuck off. It'll have consequences. I don't know. Like, I know it's a lot of people. I know it's thousands, hundreds of people working there, but we have to start somewhere. I mean, it's a goodwill to set up a place called, what's called a safe space to
Panama.
Panama. Yeah. If you have any issues, how can I get to Panama when the stuff itself is the problem? How can I trust the people working at Panama when the other people that are working here are already harassing me?
Mm-hmm. Yes. And unfortunately, it's a common thing. I don't remember the name of the band, but a band from the US had a concert or several concerts in Germany. And when they played Berlin, they went out for partying, and the female singer, then needed a toilet and asked a security guy, can I use the toilet here? And then he raped her. So only because someone is a security guy, that doesn't mean that he's a good person. And I also remember when I was very, very young, when I was 18, I went to a party that was called Rock Party. And here in Germany, that's also the piece of clothes that you can wear. And if you wore a mini skirt, then you got free entrance. And of course, I did that because free entrance when you don't have that much money as a young person.
And at this point, you're so stuck in that system that you at some point don't question it. You're like, yeah, okay, I do it. And then later you're like, what the fuck? And this is what happened to me in the past years. It was like, holy shit. Oh my God.
And then there also was the security guy. He didn't touch me, but he obviously tried to look under my skirt. So he turned around to watch me. And there were obviously many, many women with mini skirts. So the security people don't automatically are the good people. So it's very, very necessary to check them, and not only check if the police says they're okay, because at least here in Germany, we have something like the polizeiliches Führungszeugnis, which means that they weren't
a license kind of thing.
That's a kind of license. You need that when you work with children, for example, that you haven't been to jail or had to pay a fee or something. That what it says, and it's good. Your that
police record is clean. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes, but that doesn't automatically mean that you never did something. So what you just said, Laura, it's a good start to have. I mean, of course, you have a kind of introduction where the people have to be in their shifts and everything. And when you do that, you already talk to them, you give them instructions, and you could use that to give them instructions about that as well, that they are there also to protect women, and that how to interact with them. That would be a good start. Right. And of course, we are not here to give you all the answers and all the advice. But calling out the problem is a very good start. And then also, of course, we cannot give you the solutions because we don't know the details of the work. But maybe if you're the person who works at a festival, maybe think about the part that you are working in and what you can help to make the solution, to make the situation better for women.
Yeah.
I think that the threshold to harass someone is higher when you hear in the beginning of your shift, look, these are the rules. Don't break them if you'll have consequences. And I also think that, and that's a massive problem in Germany, that the funds and the money from the state that goes into culture is very low. So there are other countries like Scandinavia, there's much more money from the country going into the whole culture, music, art scene. If the country would give more money to the people making music, art festivals, they can pay people whose job it is to make sure everything is going all right. So I think that would be another solution if you'd ask me. It's not my job to know where the money comes from and how it goes there, but it might be an idea.
It's also not our job to find a solution right here and right now. And just listening to all these stories, the first reaction that I have is, oh my God, why are humans so disgusting? And the second is, I'm so sorry, Laura, that happened to you, and that stuff like that happens to all of us, to especially women and other marginalized identities. And it's just so sad. And I think we are allowed to have a bit of a grieving second and know that it's not in our hands to give people the solution. I do remember we also talked to Sarah from FemR, the feminist association in Finland, and her statement was, why are there safer space rules at festivals being displayed all around while the people attending the festival or the people in the security or the staffs working the festival all around aren't actually not only playing by those rules, but showing that those rules are in place. And in that moment, it was about how patches with Nazi symbols and symbolism and stuff like that was allowed on the festival grounds.
Oh, yeah. I read that.
At the end of the day, it's all about making us feel safer all together. And again, I keep also coming back to the Bury Tomorrow speech during their concert, when they're all like, look, we're all equal, we're all here united by the music, and it doesn't really matter what skin our color is or how we identify. And that is nice to hear, and it's always empowering and really emotional. But the opposite is also needs to happen. Like you were saying, we also need to keep calling out people. We also need to keep festivals and events and locations accountable for the people they hire. And sure, yeah, maybe their police records are clean. Maybe they haven't done anything so far. But when someone says that they did and someone speaks out, we also need to believe. We still need to believe survivors. The fact that investigations have been dropped, the fact that some allegations stay only allegations and the persecution doesn't go to the end, and I mean, even when it does and people come out of jail, they still get chances. Whatever. But we need to keep believing survivors, and we need to, maybe try other things. Maybe cancel culture is not the solution. Maybe we can't really rely on the justice system.
But the thing is, there is no cancel culture. And like all these, like, oh my God, we need to stop cancel culture. Like the man saying, like, we need to stop. Like one false allegation and we're done. Look, there is no cancel culture. Look at Till Lindemann filling stadiums. Look at the comedian Luke Mockridge, who had like more than one shitstorm, still being on stage, still filling stadiums, being part of an inclusive award speech. SLA dying singer who tried to fucking murder his wife, came back out of jail, and his band has been bigger than ever. He started immediately after he came out. There was like, no, okay, maybe I'll take some time. chill, reflect. No, he came out, started his band again, been bigger than ever. Old band members who told me like, oh no, we're supporting his wife, and then went back together with this band. Like, fuck you. Literally, fuck you. There is no cancel culture. That's the problem. I wish there would be like one fucking guy that's been canceled for what he has done, but there isn't. And I know there will be people listening to this podcast like, oh, this is another podcast about how men suck and about feminism. And yeah, maybe it hurts, but you gotta learn to sit in this pain. You know, you don't want to know what it feels like to be a woman or a queer or a trans person. So if your only problem is that you're bothered by what we are saying, fucking learn to sit in this pain and to become better.
Yeah.
I can't hear it anymore. Like, the whole crying about it. Ugh.
Hell yeah, I love that.
Yeah. And I'm very happy because I know people who speak up. I know men who speak up. And it's amazing. And I'm so thankful for them. But the people who have something bad to say are so much louder. And sometimes it feels like everything is for nothing. And that hurts. And I know what it feels like to not be believed. That's a trauma itself. I've been through it, and I still have to deal with it. For like, the pain of the abuse has been gone for a while now, but the pain of people I used to love not believing me is still something that I work on in therapy, and that's a trauma itself. And I think people don't get that, how painful it is and what it leaves in your soul, and how you're trying to survive with knowing that people don't believe you. It's really hard.
Yeah.
I'm very sorry to hear that. And I also think that it's a big problem how people think reality is, because we take so much from believing how the world works from movies. And in movies, usually the bad guys go to jail in the end. And well, that's basically not true. As you just said, cancel culture doesn't exist because Marilyn Manson got a record deal lately. Hello. It doesn't happen that these guys disappear. And especially when they went to jail and they were held accountable for what they did, I'm very happy if they get a second chance in life in general, so that they can get a day job, that they can afford a flat and everything. But they really don't have to be on stage and fill stadiums. That is not necessary. That is not having a second chance. Hello. I cannot understand that.
Falling in reverse. Like, falling in reverse is another, like, I read about his, like, transphobic, homophobic bullshit, but I didn't know that he has been in jail. That he was, like, he left his old band because he's been in jail, and, like, he's filling stadiums. Friends of mine, people that I know, are going there, celebrating the music. It is so hurtful. I understand that there's people who are trying to separate the music from the musician. I understand it. I was talking to a friend, and he said, look, there's so much shit going on in my life, and music is my escape. So when I listen to music, I don't want to have anything political or anything, you know, in my head. I just want to enjoy what I like. And I understand that too. Look, I don't want to say this is my opinion and I'm not going any step towards you. But then again, all these things come from men, you know? Like, I haven't heard a woman saying, look, I can separate that. I always heard it from a man. And it's like, yeah, okay, but I understand that, but you haven't been in my shoes. So maybe if you had been in my shoes, you would think differently about it. I accept that. I have to accept that. I have to accept that you listen to this or that band still, because you can separate it, but I can't. And I want to be loud about it because that's my choice. And then you have to accept that I'm going to be loud about it.
Yes. That gives me two instant thoughts. The first one is, we were just recently talking about this as well. And I linked I think it was the On Wednesdays We Were Black podcast to it. And they said something about people boycotting the bands that go on the support, you know, like, and not supporting the person who's receiving the shitstorm, but who are playing support in their tour. for example, Falling in Reverse is touring with Sleep Theory. And I love Sleep Theory. And I haven't really heard anything about them. But I can't, or it does seem unfair to go against, to go on their social media and start telling them, hey, why are you going on tour with this bastard? I don't know, with this idiot.
And the music industry is tricky.
Yeah.
There are massive contracts. And when you do not fulfill these contracts, you have to pay a huge fee. Mm-hmm. So sometimes you have to do these things because there's a contract behind it.
Right.
So I think we have to be careful
about who we call out to be accountable. And that is, and that's what they were saying. We, instead of boycotting them, what we need to do is hold the bookers accountable, hold the festivals accountable, and ask them to stop booking these bands, to stop giving these people those opportunities. That's what I said on the last episode, to say, hey, Nuclear Blast, why the fuck would you offer fucking Marilyn Manson a huge deal like that? Those are the people in power. Those are the people with the money. And and that's how this all, or why everything is happening, you know, because money rules the world, kind of.
Yes.
And the other thing that you were saying about, it is a lot about empathy, and it is also a lot about representation, maybe, because we don't have a lot of gender reversed controversies, because those are the statistics. Most of the sexual abuse, in most of sexual abuse cases or violent cases like that, the perpetrators are men. That is just a fact. That is just a statistical fact. So yeah, it may be difficult for straight men to feel like they can, I don't know, like they can empathize with the survivors of these terrible things. I just remember the one maybe going into that direction thing that happened to make them suffer. When Bucanel, the female singer and keyboardist, they had something came out about her and how she had sex with her ex-boyfriend without consent in like a real way, and she was kicked out of the band in like seconds. Nobody even asked. I felt like nobody even looked into it, really. She was out in a second, and I never ever heard from her again either. In that moment, what toxic masculinity tells you to think is, oh, but that can happen because, you know, that a guy has sex without his consent. What? No, that cannot be. Men always want sex. So, you know? So it's like, it's just these crazy, stupid patriarchal beliefs that we get so deeply rooted in ourselves. And yeah, and that is, I guess, what can make it so difficult to feel empathy for one another and to, as you were saying, Laura, to just put yourself in the other person's shoes. Put yourself in the person, like we were saying the last time as well. Put yourself in the shoes of a person who is female, queer, of color, and then goes into this festival to see you wearing a Rammstein shirt.
Right.
Or another band, and how are they supposed to feel safe with you?
Maybe, Laura, you just said that there are contracts and everything. You have a better insight in the music industry than we do. Maybe you can tell us a bit about that. Of course, I know that might be tricky to reveal stuff. That's not what we want, but maybe you can give us a little insight here.
So usually booking lineups of bigger tourings, it's not like there is like one local booker and he's getting this one band and the other band. So there's booking packages you get if you're a local booker. So you have to take the booking packages. And usually these booking packages are all bands from one booking agency. So once you have a contract with that booking agency, you have a contract. And then you have to do wherever they put you. And if you don't do that, you're fucked. Either way, you have to pay a fee, or they're going to kick you from the agency. And then maybe you gave up your job to do this band thing, and you put so much work into it. And I understand that it's hard to say no then. And maybe you don't even have the money to buy yourself all of the contract. So what you do is you might take that tour, even when the headliner is like, has some, things going on. It's really hard to get yourself out of that. And then on the other side, I know there is bands that would love to do much more and to get out of contracts or to get out of a touring package, but they can't. But also there's bands that just don't care. There's bands that just see the fame and they just go for it, whatever. So what can you do? Maybe say something good about, equality on stage when you're playing with a band that did something wrong.
Yes.
Call it out. Maybe you don't have to call the band out, but say, look, we are pro women rights. We are pro queer rights. That would be something you could do.
Yes, use the stage that you're on and use that you have this access to the audience, especially to that audience, because I found very impressive already years ago. I was at a speech of a guy from a very big newspaper here, and he was calling out the Catholic Church, but he was still a member of the church. And he said, for me, it makes more sense to do it from within the church, to criticize them from within than to just put my finger on it and point on them from the outside. So that's a chance. You can take it as a chance, like Laura just said.
I know it's hard for a man to listen to these things because there's a lot of anger inside of us and there's a lot of rage. And just because we're calling it out doesn't mean we mean all men. But we have to understand that it's men most of the time. So, and that's the thing. Every time I post something on social media, there's like more than one guy like, but this and that happened to me too. But I have a girlfriend that has no issue with it. Look, I'm sorry that this happened to you. And we're not saying that you can't be a victim. But right now, it's not about you. Right now, it's about the issue of, how women and queer and LGBTQ people are suffering. And if we make this better, the world will be also better for you. So we're all in this together. It's not like a cake where you take and there's less for another person.
Let me give you an example. If I give you 10 Smarties, this is chocolate with some candy around it. And I tell you 9 of these are filled with chocolate and 1 with dog shit. You, of course, would be careful with all of these, even though statistically, the chance to pick the one with dog shit, that's not very high. The chance that you get one with chocolate is very, very high, but still you would check everything. And so if we say that 10% of men are really dangerous to us, we check every man, of course, before we interact with them because of that. So maybe this example helps you a bit.
Every time I leave my house when it's dark, I have my key close. Every time. And I wonder, and there's a lot of women who feel the same. And I wonder if this is something that men are really realizing. Imagine you're leaving the house and you're scared at night that you have to have a weapon close by. Even when it's my own home, I know every street, I know every road, I know where my car is. Still, the first thing I'm doing is looking left, right, what's the situation, and then I have something close by. And that's the reality. And it's even worse for POC, for people of color, and even worse for trans people and gay people and queer people. So this can't be the world we're living in.
Yeah.
When you said in the beginning that it took you some time to see the ghost going on in the world and now you see it everywhere, we had a kind of exact conversation about racism a few episodes ago where our co-host Martha asked me how I, as a white person, was able to see the ghost. And now I can, of course, see that racism also is everywhere. So once you find the door to that, then many, many things just get very obvious to you. So I hope that if you're a man and you listened until here, you might have an interest in getting educated. Then, educate yourself. I also offer you to write me a private message, because it's not our task to educate you, but I offer you that I can give you hints for podcasts, for books and everything where you can educate yourself. That's very important. And that also links to what we said, that it's not our task to find solutions for the whole problem. And I think that would be also a good point to stop. Or is there anything that one of you wants to add to this topic?
I think it's important to have conversations. So how did I learn about the girls? How did I realize that these things are happening to me on a daily basis, that it's not only the physical abuse, but also the gaslighting, the catcalling, abuse of power. I started to talk to other people, to other women, to other queer people, listen to them, reflect. So I think that's important to talk to the people, get into a conversation, listen, reflect, sit in the pain, and let's look for solutions together. Let's work together. It's not like, I don't want to keep anyone out. I don't want to say like, this is my circle and you fuck off. I think we need to take steps together towards each other. That's what we need to do in the end. So yeah, go into conversation, listen, reflect.
Don't stop talking about it. Yeah.
I think don't stop talking about it.
I think
do better.
With a good attitude, because fighting, it's exhausting for all of us. Let's stop fighting. Let's work together.
Right.
Everything is more fun then as well, because also men complain about why are so few women in the metal scene. Yeah, maybe ask yourself if you're part of the problem. And ask that. I already also said that in the racism episode. Don't be too mean to yourself. I mean, I made a lot of mistakes. I acted very racistly before, and I am still acting like that because I learned that all my life. And you as a man, you learned that all your life, that it's okay to act that way. And it's painful, of course. And like also Laura said, sit in this pain. Just think about that, reflect it, but don't do that with self-hate, or don't feel like, or someone is punishing me, holding me accountable or anything. No, the past is the past. When you decide to change something, then go from there and learn from your mistakes. That's the best thing you can do.
And yes, I think I couldn't have said it better.
Thank you.
You both were talking from my heart, as we say in German. But yeah, just keeping the dialogue open is very important. And we've been talking about this a lot in recent episodes. So thank you so much for listening to us. But it's important because we all have different perspectives. We have different experiences. And maybe one of them will touch you and help you understand. And also I think it's important to have these conversations among men, or with the men in our lives, with the male musicians in our lives. So Dark were saying that they have had these talks in their band and have asked their female singer how they could help and stuff like that. And also, if you are a guy and are realizing this, maybe ask the other male presenting people in your life. Did you know this? Have you noticed this? Did you know that women are afraid when they go out at night? What? Yeah, it's a thing. And so let's try to all together make the world a better place, a safer place. And so that we can keep enjoying the music and other pleasures of life and of the world. And for example, Laura's music and your solo project. Tell us about it.
Yes, I started this year. So we are recording this end of 2024. So it's almost like Christmas. This episode will come out probably in February. But this year in summer, I started to work on some music that I had on my mind for a while now. And I wasn't quite sure whether this might be something that will work out or whether I like it enough to put it out into the world. But it's been a very exciting process. I worked together with a producer from the city Karlsruhe. He's a fucking genius. He helped me a lot with beats and produced the music. It's a bit different than to what I'm doing with Tex Avery Syndrome. So the band I'm singing in, it's a metal band. I grew up in metal since I can think and speak properly. So my dad was listening a lot to rock music. Then I started to listen to Korn and nu metal when I was like 10, 11. When I was 19, I started my first metal band. So I grew up with metal music, and I still hold that in my heart very dearly. But also with everything going on in that scene, I feel like that we're going a bit backwards, and I wanted to do some music in a genre that is a bit more open towards female musicians and queer people. So I'm not sure if it'll be out yet when you listen to that episode, but it's going a bit more in a trap, dark pop rap direction. It was a lot of fun to make this music because the way you can write lyrics to this music is a bit differently. So the way you can put things out there is a bit more diverse than in metal music. And it was a lot of fun to make it. And yeah, I think a lot of people will not like it because it's very different from what they know from me. But I think there will be a few people who will be surprised, and there will be other people coming, and hopefully you guys will like it. And of course, there's no scene or genre that is perfect. We are very far from equality, but I wanted to feel a bit more female energy. So if you're interested, check out my Instagram. There will be probably something online by now, and let me know what you think. Yeah.
It sounds amazing. I'm sorry, I have to leave right now, but I'm very thrilled also to listen to the conversation that Kiki and Laura will have about that project now. And yeah, bye-bye from me. Don't stop listening because I think it's going to be interesting.
Don't stop believing. Bye-bye.
Yeah. How was that experience, though? Did you find the female energy you were looking for? Did you find camaraderie and stuff in women in the other genres?
Yeah, absolutely. So in that genre, I feel like there are more diverse artists and more female artists. And I'm still getting into it. I found a few artists I started following Instagram, and I really love what they are doing. And I think there's even more to discover. So I started listening to that music for like 2 or 3 years, and I really find a lot of enjoyment in it. Of course, they have the same problem as I do in the metal scene for sure, but I feel like the scene is a step ahead, I would say. I hope, like from my point of view, I feel like the metal scene has to chill for a bit. I'm not saying the metal music, but the metal scene, and I feel like it's very backwards at the moment. It's elitist, elite thinking. Instead of being supportive, it's like very like when you meet people, they're like, yeah, it's pretty cool what we're doing and blah blah blah. Let's support each other, and then they're talking trash about each other behind their backs. And yeah, especially bands we've been talking about earlier. It's very frustrating. And a friend of mine plays in a big band, and she came out as trans a while ago. Mm-hmm. And she got so many hate messages from her own fans, like people who have supported her from the beginning, loved her music, and since she came out as a non-binary trans person, she received hate messages, like murder messages, like all these things, like, what the fuck? You guys are fans of this band. Like, how can you? And yeah, it really broke my heart. And whenever I hear these things, I feel like my heart gets a bit more broken about a scene that helped me surviving. And it's very painful because metal, it really helped me surviving in my life when I had nowhere to go. This was my home, and seeing in which direction it's going at the moment, especially in Germany. I think it might be a bit different in other countries because the way they work together, like different genres, making music together, supporting each other. It's different in the States, but in Germany and Europe, some parts of Europe at the moment, it's like really hard to look at it. And I feel like maybe it might change again. I mean, I will always have my heart and my home in the metal music, but I feel like I needed to do something different and to express myself in a different way. And that's why I chose to do another genre and to explore more of myself as an artist, because I don't want to be bound to only metal music, because there is so much more inside of me, so much more creativity that I can't express in metal music only.
Yeah, that is so cool. I was looking at your Instagram, and you also, another super cool creative thing that you do is modeling.
Yeah, I used to do that a lot when I was younger. So,
are you going back to it now?
Yeah, I feel like I want to go back, because I really worked very, very hard for my band, and I put all my energy into that music, and I stopped modeling to have more time for music. And now I feel like I'm missing it a little bit, you know, to be creative with photographers and to, just take pictures, creative videos. I won't have the time to do it on a amount of time that I used to do it when I was younger, but I'm getting back at it a little bit. Yeah.
That's so cool. And the Tex Avery Syndrome is still alive and thriving though, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're still there. We did, like this year, we played a lot of shows. We played with Unearth and What's of Jericho, a few shows, some cool festivals. We've been everywhere in Germany this year. And last year, with the release of our EP and everything, it's been a lot of work to me, and I put my whole self into it. And we said, like, come on, like 2025, let's focus on new music. So we won't be around that much on stage. So we'll be writing.
That's awesome. That's really good to hear. All right, everyone, don't miss out on Laura's upcoming solo project and on the Tex Avery Syndrome. We will, of course, link everything we talked about in the show notes, in the episode description. And is there anything else you would like to say to the audience?
Thanks for listening. So if you're a guy and you listen to all of that and you sat with it, thank you. We need your help to make this world a better place. We want to work together. We don't want to make anyone feel like we're kicking you out of our circle. It's the opposite. We want you to be part of it. But I hope that everybody understands that it's the situation as it is very painful and frustrating, and it hurts. And I feel like we need an outlet for all this and for these emotions. And let's make music. Let's make the music scene a safer place. Let's remind ourselves why we are here. Let's be creative. And thank you. Thank you for talking to me. Thank you for the podcast. Yeah, that's it. Check out my Insta if you want to. I'm on TikTok now as well. Check out my solo project. I'm thankful for every support.
Hell yeah. Yes. Let's make the metal scene as welcoming and as safe as we say it is already. And we'll see you all out there. Thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to subscribe to the Bleeding Metal podcast wherever you're listening. And tell your friends. Also, watch some new video interviews on our YouTube. And we'll see you next time. Thank you so much.
Bye.